Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'll be reviewing the Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande. I'll go briefly into the author's background, give an overview of what the book is about, talk about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and we'll finish off with recommendations and what I'm going to be reading next time. The author Atul Gawande, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name, but he is a surgeon, renowned surgeon, works of the Boston area. He also, I believe, is a MacArthur Fellowship recipient, and he also worked with the World Health Organization to implement checklists in kind of areas around the world. So he's a very impressive person. He wrote this book, I think it was published in 2009, and what the book is basically about is the power of checklists to prevent disasters from happening in a world that is increasingly complex. We have the need to disseminate checks among more and more people, and the checklist is really the most effective way to do that. So that's basically the book. It's relatively short. It's only a couple hundred pages, and so he does this through a few different ways. He basically talks about a few different case examples in his work and in the work of other surgeons as well. And at the end of the book, he kind of walks through the Miracle on the Hudson and kind of explains how checklists were used in that, and I thought that was very effective. I think the book opens and ends with medical cases, and I think that for me was the best part of the book, kind of explaining how in medical emergencies the importance of checklists in order to build teamwork and camaraderie, and also to pass along really necessary information prior to surgery is really important, and a checklist is a way to ensure that that happens. He kind of explains the theory of the master builder versus kind of what he calls the checklist hero, which is the idea that in the past, due to things being slightly simpler and systems being less complex, in architecture, for instance, you would have a master builder, so you would have one person who is in charge of literally everything for a skyscraper from start to end, who drew the plans, hired the contractor, was responsible for all the specifications, all those things. Now, because skyscrapers are so much more complex, there's hundreds and hundreds of systems and millions of parts and pieces and individuals and all those things that need to be coordinated. Those have basically been split off into several different specialties, and because of this, you need to have systems in place to make sure all the parts are working together in tandem. He kind of describes it as he interviews an individual, and they say, if you had gotten the best pieces of equipment from all 5 major automobile manufacturers, your Ferraris, your BMWs, your Lamborghinis, if you put all those pieces together, the car would not work. Even though those parts are all really high quality, they wouldn't work because they wouldn't be communicating together as a whole. And so I thought that was a really good illustrative of what he was trying to say and the importance of the checklist. I think where I had a problem with the book is it really is just one idea over and over again. He doesn't, I think, do a very good job of how this idea of using a checklist to handle things of complexity really could apply to many more areas and facets of life. I came into it thinking like, okay, well, is this going to be a book about how to apply this in my own life? And there's a little bit there as far as guidelines of writing checklists of what you do, but mostly he focuses on kind of the airline industry, which is kind of where this originated in the 1930s, medicine, and as well as buildings. And it was hard for me sometimes to see the applications in other areas of life. It is because it's just kind of one note. There are parts of it that are a little boring, especially in the middle. And it did, even though it's a relatively short book, it felt a little long. So I felt like I put it down, picked it back up, put it down, picked it back up. And I didn't think the length of the book really necessitated that. So I wish there had been more examples that were not in kind of those 3 fields. And I think that was kind of where the book fell down a little bit. And it felt like it could have been maybe a long series of blog posts and not so much a book. So those were my feelings on it. If you are interested in Malcolm Gladwell-esque stuff, there is a little bit of Malcolm Gladwell in there, the ideas. He is blurbed, Malcolm Gladwell is on the back. And so if you're interested in business books, or if you're in those fields as far as medicine and the airlines, there are a lot of good test cases. He kind of works through how the checklist really improved a series of functions in many hospitals around the world. I think there was a test run in like 8 hospitals, and he walks through the improvements just by simply having a checklist. And I thought that was interesting too. So if that idea is interesting to you, you may want to check the book out. If you're looking for something really in depth and you understand the idea and the concept and you want something to kind of explain how to apply it in your life, I didn't really necessarily think it was that effective, but that's Atul Gawande's The Checklist Manifesto. And next time I will be reading a work of fiction, and it is Hell by Robert Olan Butler. Until next time, please feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll have my Twitter link in the comment section below. And until next time, bye.